If you come to Canada, you're gonna wanna consider buying a car with a heated steering wheel so that your hands don't freeze in the winter. My car doesn't have a heated steering wheel. It's just a normal steering wheel. Some cars have a lot of bells and whistles. My car does not have very many bells and whistles. Bells and whistles means cool features. You know, like a heated steering wheel would be a bell and whistle. Okay, so we use that very often to talk about cars. Bells and whistles. Does your car have a lot of bells and whistles? My car doesn't have very many bells and whistles. But if you come to Canada, you're gonna wanna get a car with a heated steering wheel. Do you know what that sentence means? You're gonna wanna. Do you know how to use gonna and wanna in the same sentence, side by side? You're gonna wanna. Do you know how to do that? In this lesson, I'm going to teach you, so smash that like button. So, what does gonna wanna mean? Gonna wanna means going to want to. Going to want to. So we're talking about the future here, okay? And we use these two words side by side when we're giving advice to someone, or when we're kind of, we're maybe almost warning someone, right? Because, if you come to Canada here, well, maybe you're coming from a warm country and maybe you don't know what things are like here in Canada. Maybe in your mind, winter is kind of a pleasant thing in your mind, right? Maybe, you're excited about the winter here in Canada. Well, when you come here, reality is going to hit. If reality hits, that means you suddenly wake up and you realize, oh boy, this wasn't as glamorous as I thought it was. If something is glamorous, that means it's like you think it's great, right? Maybe you imagine snow falling lightly, big snowflakes kind of floating down from the sky, and walking outside and, enjoying the snowfall. There are days like that, a few. In any winter, I would say, in a given winter, I can say it that way. In a given winter, means I'm talking about any winter, okay? In a given winter, I would say there are maybe like 10 days that are like that, where snow is just gently falling. You got the big snowflakes and it's kind of fun, and you can stick out your tongue and catch the snowflakes on your tongue, and it's beautiful. Winter can be very glamorous, very beautiful. I hope that's your experience. But reality is going to hit when you come here and you realize most winter days are extremely cold and windy, and you don't want to go outside. You don't want to be driving. You don't want to do anything outside. Driving is dangerous. It's slippery and it's cold and it's freezing. And if your car is parked on the street, really the only way to park inside is if you get a house, like a big house with a garage, or if you have a condo. Most condo buildings have some underground parking spots. That's called a parkade, the underground parkade. Most of the parking spots are actually outside. So like a condo building here in Canada, I would say like maybe 20 or 30% of the spots are in the parkade. So if you're lucky, and you might have to pay extra to get a spot in the parkade, then that's great, because then your car will stay warm in the winter. But if you're not lucky, you know, and if you want to save some money, you could get an apartment with an outside parking stall, and it's gonna be freezing, you know, whenever you want to go to work or drive anywhere, shopping or whatever. You're gonna have to walk out of your building to your parking spot and start your car, and it's gonna be freezing cold. And when you get into your car, you know, everything is cold. The seats are cold. The steering wheel is cold. That's why, you know, it's actually a nice idea. Now, I've never owned a car with a heated steering wheel. My next car, if I buy another car, I want one with a heated steering wheel. Because in the winter, it's really nice. Now, if you're lucky and you can park inside in a garage or something, well, then you don't really need a heated steering wheel that much. You know, depends on where you park at work, right? If at work, if you have a nice heated spot, that's great. If not, well, every time you leave work, you're going to be getting into a freezing cold car, right? So I can give you some friendly advice, and I can say, you're going to want to buy a car with a heated steering wheel. You're gonna wanna. What does that mean? Well, it's another way of saying should. I could say you should buy a car with a heated steering wheel. Okay, but very often in English, when we're giving people advice, you know, especially if they don't know about something, then we use this, gonna wanna, right? There's a fly buzzing around in my car, guys. Maybe I can catch it. I don't know where it is, but I can hear it. Yeah, like in the situation where you're coming to Canada from a warm country, I could say you should, when you come to Canada, you should buy a car with a heated steering wheel. I could say that. Or I could use the word probably to kind of soften it a little bit. Because sometimes if you say should, it sounds like I'm kind of telling you what to do, right? It almost sounds like I'm controlling your life. So if I want to make it less controlling, I can add the word probably. I could say, you should probably you should probably buy a car with a heated steering wheel. Okay, you should probably. That kind of lowers the controlling aspect of it, because I don't want to say you should buy a car with a heated steering wheel, right? I'm not your mom. Maybe your mom or your dad or someone. Maybe, you know, your wife. You know, maybe they always try to control you, right? I'm not. I don't want to control you, right? So I'm going to use words that, you know, that kind of soften it a little bit. So sometimes in English, we have some words that we can use to soften the directness of a statement. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, if you come to Canada, you should probably consider buying a car with heated seats, a heated steering wheel, maybe remote start. Remote start means you can start your car while you're still in your house or your apartment building. Maybe if your car is within range, right? You can hold the button and then your car will start and it can warm up before you go outside in the freezing cold weather, right? Now, again, I've never owned a car with remote start. Or I don't know, maybe I can't remember. Maybe one car I did have. I can't remember. I never used it. I never actually used it. I've never had a car where I used remote start. How about you? Do you have a remote start on your vehicle? That would be great too. So, you know, those are some nice bells and whistles to have. So you're gonna wanna consider that. Okay, so anytime you give someone advice, you can use this. You're gonna wanna. Okay, let's think of another example. You know, you're gonna wanna think about, you know, whether or not you want to take out student loans to go to college. Let's say, imagine you're thinking of going to university, and you're thinking of taking out student loans to pay for your whole education. I could say you're going to want to think about that, because it's actually really hard to pay off all your student loans after you graduate. Do you really want to go so deep in debt? You're going to want to think about that, you know, before you make such a big decision, right? Or let's think of another example. Let's say you have an important interview tomorrow. Your dream job. What's your dream job, guys? Let me know in the comments. So let's say you're interviewing for your dream job. It's tomorrow. I could say you're going to want to be there at least 15 minutes early. Okay? You're going to want to be there. Be means arrive. You're going to want to arrive there, right? At least 15 minutes early, because it's an important job interview, right? You don't want to be late. Okay, so you're going to want to be there, you know, at least 15 minutes early. Okay, so why am I saying you're going to want to? I could also say you should be there 15 minutes early. But, you know, it's, yeah, there's many different ways to say something in English. But sometimes one choice is better in a certain situation. Okay, so if you're giving someone some advice, like I said, especially if the person might not know something. Now, for a job interview, you're not stupid. You already know you should be early, right? But you know, I don't know. It just means it's a way of giving advice. You know, you should probably, I could say you should probably be there 15 minutes early. It's an important job interview. You should probably be there a bit early. Okay, now there's another way, another verb we use to talk about the future. What is that? One is going to, right? You're going to want to be there 15 minutes early. Or I could say, if you come to Canada, you're gonna want to buy a really warm winter coat. You're gonna want to buy. Okay, you might not now, you might not want to, because maybe you're in Brazil, or you're in Indonesia, or you're in some warm country. So now you don't want to buy it. If you come here, you're gonna wanna. That's another way of saying you should buy it. You're gonna want to buy it when you come here. Okay, but what's another way, another verb we can use to talk about the future? Will. Going to or will. You can use both. It's your choice. So how would we say this with the word will? We would say, you'll wanna. Okay? If you come to Canada, you'll want to buy a good coat, you know, a really warm coat. If you come to Canada, you'll want to buy a car with a heated steering wheel. If you're interviewing for your dream job tomorrow, you'll want to be there 15 minutes early. You'll wanna be there. Okay, so there's different ways of saying things. You can either choose you'll wanna. Okay, now why wanna? Because the next one is a verb. Okay, so the wanna, the to in wanna is actually part of the next verb. Did you know that? Now, I just made a video about the word wanna. Okay, I'll link it up here after the end of this video. So that's a very important video, okay? I asked the question, what does wanna mean? Does it mean want to, or does it mean want a? Okay, so go and watch that video after you watch this video. Both these videos are related. Okay, so gonna wanna can't be alone. We can't use the word wanna alone because it means there's another verb coming, because the in wanna means want to what? To what? I want to go there. I want to be there. Okay, so I could say you're gonna want to be there 15 minutes early. Or I could say you'll want to be there 15 minutes early. You're gonna wanna, or you'll wanna. All right? Gonna, you are gonna. It's you're gonna wanna. You're gonna wanna. Okay, so this is a very common phrase in English. That's why it almost sounds like one word when we say it fast, right? You're gonna wanna. Okay, so just think about it as one word for a second, right? You're gonna wanna. Give me some advice. If I come to your country, what advice would you say to me? What advice would you give me? You might say, you're gonna wanna avoid that part of town. You're gonna wanna avoid that part of town. Now, why are you saying that? Because I'm new in your country or in your city. I don't know which places are safe, and I don't know which places are dangerous. So you can give me some friendly advice, and you can say, Mark, you're gonna wanna avoid the east side of town. Town means city in this case. You're gonna wanna avoid the east side of town, or you're gonna wanna avoid the south part of the country. Okay. Is there a part of your country that you would advise people to avoid, or part of your city or your town? Okay. You'll want to avoid the north. You'll want to avoid the south. You're going to want to avoid the east. You're going to want to. Okay. So you can either say you're going to wanna, or you'll wanna. Okay. Now, why do we say you're? Because the word are, you are going to want to. Okay. You are. That's the verb. You're gonna wanna. Okay. Now, sorry guys, my battery just died, so I had to come home. And but what I was saying is, we can choose a different pronoun. We don't need to say you. The reason it's the most common thing to say you is because usually you're talking to someone and you're giving them advice, right? Or maybe you're talking to 2 or 3 people or a group of people, and it's the same, you. Because in English, you can mean one person, or it can mean many people, and the grammar is exactly the same, right? So you're gonna wanna. That's why I said try to memorize that word, you're gonna wanna, as one word, because that's the most common thing. But we can use other pronouns too. We could say he, and then are changes to is. He's gonna wanna. So let's say you are in some country. Which country are you in? Let's say you are in Malaysia, okay? And your brother is coming to Canada. You're not coming to Canada, your brother's coming to Canada, but I'm talking to you. So I'm giving you advice to tell to him. So I could say to you, he's gonna wanna consider buying a car with a heated steering wheel. Okay, he's gonna wanna, or let's say she, or it. If you're talking about an animal, it, you can say it, but let's say she, like your friend, let's say your girlfriend. Let's say I'm giving you advice for your girlfriend, okay? So I could say, she's gonna wanna leave the house at 6 a.m. in order to get to her interview, a few minutes early because traffic is really bad. She doesn't want to miss this. She doesn't want to be late for this interview. So she's gonna wanna leave the house at 6 a.m. sharp. Sharp means right on time. Okay. So, she's gonna need to leave the house at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. sharp. Or I could say she'll need to leave. Or she'll wanna, okay? If we want to stick with the same verb, wanna, okay? You can say she's gonna wanna, or she'll wanna. Okay, she'll wanna leave. You can choose. They're both of these words mean we're talking about the future, right? Gonna, which is going to, or will. But our choice of word is going to affect the previous word. So it's going to either be she is gonna wanna, she's gonna wanna. If we choose the word will, then it's she'll wanna. Then will is added onto the word she, or he, or it, okay? Or they, or, we'll wanna, they'll wanna. We'll wanna, did I say that? We'll wanna, they'll wanna, it'll wanna, she'll wanna, he'll wanna, they'll wanna. Am I just repeating myself now? I don't know. You get the point, okay? If the word is will, then it gets added onto any of the pronouns with ll, an apostrophe, right? Will wanna. But if you're gonna choose the word gonna, then you have to make sure you choose the right word before and the word changes on the pronoun, right? We're gonna wanna, he's gonna wanna, she's gonna wanna, it's gonna wanna, they're gonna wanna, you're gonna wanna. But like I said, most of the time when we're talking in English, we're speaking to a person. So that's why the most common is to say you're gonna wanna. Okay, you're gonna wanna do what? So give me advice. If I come to your country, tell me what are some things I'm gonna wanna need to know. I'm gonna wanna do, like maybe avoid a certain part of town, or maybe not go out after midnight, or maybe buy certain types of clothing. Maybe it's really hot. Maybe you could say you're gonna wanna bring some flip-flops and shorts. Okay, flip-flops in, is it Australia and England? Maybe it's just Australia. They call flip-flops thongs. I know in Australia they call them thongs, and I think maybe in England too. Don't quote me on that. If you're in England, let me know if they're called thongs. The problem with that word thong is that here in Canada and in the US and maybe some other English-speaking countries, the word thong has a different meaning. Right? But in Australia, if you wear thongs, they're flip-flops on your feet, right? Sandals, open-toed sandals, right? Where you're, I don't know. This in Australia they call them thongs. It's just kind of funny. So, what advice would you give me? You could say, Mark, you should pack some anything. You should pack. You're gonna wanna bring some sunglasses because it's really bright. The sun is really bright out here. Or you're gonna want to pack some sunscreen. Sunscreen is the lotion that you put on your skin so your skin doesn't get burned, so you don't get a sunburn, right? So you could say, Mark, you're gonna want to pack flip-flops, shorts, and sunscreen, and maybe some shades. Shades is another word for sunglasses. Okay, so it's very common to use these words when you're giving advice. You're gonna wanna. So tell me what I'm gonna wanna do if I come to your country. And we also use this for, maybe like seeing sights, like tourist attractions or doing things or trying new foods. You could say, you're gonna wanna, if you come to, what country are you from, guys? If you come to, guys, my brain just went blank. My brain went blank. That means I can't think of any countries right now. And I don't know what their traditional foods are. But what is the traditional food in your country that maybe you want me to try? So then you could say, you're gonna want to try this food, then whatever the name of that food is, right? Maybe it's some kind of curry in India, right? In India, they eat a lot of different kinds of curries. You're gonna want to try that food, okay? Or it can be about a place that you see. You're gonna want to check out the Taj Mahal. Maybe let's say you're from India and you're giving me advice. You could say, Mark, when you come to India, you're gonna want to check out the Taj Mahal. You're gonna wanna check out. Now remember, the word after gonna wanna is going to be a verb. It's a verb. Okay, so gonna wanna check out, gonna wanna eat, gonna wanna go, gonna wanna think, gonna wanna dance, gonna wanna run, gonna wanna jump. I don't know, gonna wanna do anything. What do you want to do, guys? Like I said, it's kind of a friendly way to give advice. You're gonna wanna, it's friendly. You're gonna wanna do blah, 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 whatever, okay? So give me your examples down in the comments. I think I covered everything that I wanted to say. Remember, there's two ways you can say it. You can say gonna wanna or will wanna. And if you're adding it, it becomes a contraction onto the pronoun. Like you'll wanna, right? And yeah, so there it is. You're gonna wanna. That's how we use this in English. It's to give advice. It's telling someone that it's like a common way to say should, or must, or if almost like you're warning someone. You're gonna want to avoid that part of town. You could also say you should avoid the east side of town. But gonna wanna is almost it's a little bit less controlling. Okay, remember that. So if I say you should do this, you should do that. If I say you're gonna wanna, it's a little bit less direct way of saying should. Okay, so there it is, guys. Remember to check out the other video I made about the meaning of the word gonna. Okay, so I'll link that up here somewhere. As always, guys, I love you so much. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy. And I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.